Grant and I were looking at a piece about Levittown, Pennsylvania, an event that happened in Levittown, Pennsylvania, because we'd seen some things on the campaign trail where they were talking about building fences and scapegoating Mexicans and Muslims. And we are always reminded that these aren't new things and new moments in our history. And we thought it'd be interesting to talk about it. But we wanted it to be entertaining. We didn't want it to be a documentary. We didn't want it to be a eat your spinach piece of filmmaking. So we merged it with Suburbicon because we thought it was a funny idea to put it in the suburbs in the 1950s when we all thought everything was so perfect if you were, a white straight male, and to have it sort of everybody looking in the wrong direction. So that's how it came about. The Coen Brothers had offered me to play the part that Oscar Isaac plays, and they offered me to play it in 1999 or something. The film never got made, and when I called up Oscar to do the part, some people asked me why didn't I play it, and I was like, because I got Oscar Isaac, which is, not a bad move.
I felt very emotional about it, especially talking to them afterwards, and the grandson expressing that I reminded him of his grandmother. They felt that I was pretty right on with my approach, how I basically lived as her. And so it was very moving, it was very touching.
The two children that were here yesterday, Linda and Barry, talked to me about the moment when they were banging on instruments and you're still hanging laundry. And they said that's exactly what their mother did, and they felt exactly what their mom had felt, and they were really proud of that moment for you.
I'd never been asked to do something like this. So it was so much fun to play these these two characters. I mean, we just had a ball, and much like Downsizing, this was another script I was reading going, wow, they're gonna make this. Like that's really great. I just love the aspect that the Myers family, you never know them, right? It's you can't, because, and that's the point, because the town never bothered to get to know them. They just freaked out.
Yeah, they just blame them. They blame them for absolutely everything. And then you see us in our little house kind of quietly going about our dirty little business, consistently making bad choices. Right. And what I do love about it tonally too is that it starts in this kind of kooky comedic level, and it gets progressively darker and darker and darker until it becomes a true noir. Bad people doing bad things. And it ends up being shocking, I think.
It's a man covered in blood riding a bicycle down the street, and people are protesting the African-American family that moves in.
It's like, talk about white privilege, right? You can, covered in blood, and no, it's not him. It's these people. I wanted to do a British accent, but he wouldn't let me.
He's very good at a British accent. You should see him.
Oh, I thought you were doing a British accent.
Yeah,
that was your British accent, wasn't it?
I did not have an opportunity to meet or talk with the family before filming production, but I did read the book. The mother, Daisy Myers, she had written a book called Sticks and Stones, and so I was able to obtain a copy of that. So I read that and researched everything I could online and watched the documentary. That there was something on YouTube clips, and that was very helpful with giving me a lot of insight about the world, and also her book gave me a lot of insight about what they actually felt and what they actually went through, outside of what's in the script. So
we had to change some things in editing. Times changed. While we were shooting, Trump was elected, and it changed some of the temperature of the film in a weird way, because the country got angrier. Whichever side you were on, the country got angrier. It reminded us that we have to play with this tone a little differently. We had scenes with Josh Brolin that are some of the funniest scenes we've ever shot. I sent them to Josh and we had to cut them out because one was it was away from the house, and you felt like if the boy could get away from the house, you were going to let the air out of the balloon. You could tell somebody. And the other was that they're really slapstick funny. It's Josh Brolin in a baseball uniform talking to a bunch of 9-year-old kids, trying to explain to them what the word fuck means. And it's really funny, and it's really wrong, and it felt like the wrong tone suddenly. It felt like we were getting off into the weeds. And we had a few of those. The killers, we had to tone down some of their slapstick stuff. We had to make them a little more dangerous. Tone is what you win or lose on in films, right, in general, particularly when you're playing in this kind of genre. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. I've had it go both ways. And so this was one where we tested the film knowing what tone we wanted.
Hello, Juan Carlos Garcia from Mexico City. This is for the cast
First of all, are you a rapist or a criminal? I just need to get that. I just want to check. Okay. So you're one of the good ones. Okay, that's very good to know.
But you are in Canada. He's not in the United States.
I understand,
They
but
haven't
we
sent
want to
him
keep
down.
it that way.
Yeah, okay.
Thinking about a northern border wall.
Remember.
Yeah.
Canada's cool.
Houston is Syria, quite honestly. This is, people in Houston are now refugees based on something that had nothing to do with them. They didn't do anything. They are now victims. And they're out of their homes, and they're going to be suffering for a long period of time. And much like the people and children in Syria, we're going to have to find ways to be involved. That is our job as citizens of the world. And all of us are going to find our ways to do that. So you're right. How are we going to make the world better? I think the only way we can do it is all of us do whatever way we can to be involved. I grew up at a time when that was sort of mandatory in the 60s and 70s, and I hope we get back to that more. It's better than making Matt Damon cry and beating up a little boy. I mean, that's my options. I just thought this was the right thing to do. Karimah, right? I mean, I shouldn't be beating children. And I can't believe you're advocating beating children. That's what's wrong with you? I tell you, it wasn't just beating Matt up. One of the most fun moments I've had on that set was when the prop guy brought a normal-sized bicycle over, and I was like, no. We're going to have a bike about that big for Matt, and we're going to put him on that. Matt's been a good sport. We've been good friends a long period of time, and there are very few actors in the world that are capable of being, the Bourne supremacy, being a Jason Bourne and killing people, and then turn around and be the buffoon who can't do anything right, the gang who couldn't shoot straight,
But also kills people.
but also kills people, but purely by accident, And I feel like that's sort of everybody came on board to do that. That little boy is something spectacular. I played a pediatrician on ER, so I worked with kid actors all the time. Most kid actors are just there because their parents want them there, and it's not great. This kid should be in front of a camera. He is normal and fun, and both the boys, they were fantastic young men.
The scene with the ping pong paddle was, and we figured out actually that
Matt sustained an injury.
yeah that
You got the injury.
yeah from the angle we were at, it looked like I was hitting her if I hit my own ass, and which was good by me because I could really haul off and hit myself. I didn't want to hit Julie, so I broke one of the paddles. I mean, I was really giving it to myself, and I didn't realize the next day I got up in the shower and my wife went, what is going on? And I went, what? And I turned around and I looked, and my entire right cheek was black and blue.
Was that direction from George or just personal choice?
Well, George said, you really want to be
Smack yourself.
giving it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a brand new challenge for me.
The trickiest part was we were in a very racially diverse neighborhood in Fullerton, California, and we had about 350 extras who were going to hurl a lot of racial slurs and say a lot of pretty terrible things that are against any decent human beings, what you would think is okay. Having to say to everyone, okay, we're going to do something that's really awful, and it's going to feel terrible. And everybody, and I mean this to a man, everybody there who was making the film, the crew and everyone, we all just felt sick, when we were doing it. And listening to, because these are things that happen. They sang church hymns, they played instruments, they hung Confederate flags over the fence, they built a fence around their house. So these things were things that really happened, but it was sickening to be part of it, quite honestly. So that was, I think, the most difficult things to shoot.
So was Matt the second choice?
Matt was always the second choice. Matt, I like to say Matt was the best available.
I'm like his default. When everyone else passes, he's got these photographs of me that he's had since around 2001, and
I've
just
never
have to
seen
say
a
yes.
goat shaved before. I do pranks when I'm bored on a set and have nothing else to do. This is when you're directing, you don't have a whole lot of time to do terrible things. Look, I get to benefit from having 3 incredibly wonderful actors who, honest to God, you put them in the situation and say, help. You can plan where to put the camera, you can plan how to cut it, you can plan how you want the tone to be, but you're going to require, wonderful, smart, intelligent, intuitive actors to carry you over the finish line. And if you can't, you get mad. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey, you